Good evening, everyone. I'm here with Kathryn Manari, and she will be doing an interview with me for Friday, OSA Friday for Females. Thank you for coming this evening. We also know each other from RandolphMacon Women's College. We're both '04 grads, so we're very excited to be here and reconnect with you guys and discuss what she's doing now.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
No problem. So I'll get right into it. If you have questions, you guys are more than welcome to put them on the comments, but we'll answer them after the interview. So Kathryn, what inspired you to become a teacher?
I thought long and hard about this question. I remember I went to a very tiny Catholic school in Longview, Texas, and I remember sitting in class thinking, if I were teaching this lesson, this is what I would do. And not to say that my teachers were bad or anything like that. I was just, this is how I would approach this. And so that kind of carried me through a lot of my actual motivation to become a teacher. That wasn't my first job out of college. I didn't study education at Randolph-Macon. I was a history major and moved to Washington, D.C. after and worked at a corporate office. And then finally I was like, you know what? I'm supposed to be a teacher. I need to go be a teacher. And so my dad kind of had the same path. I think it's maybe in my blood, if you believe in that sort of thing.
Mhm.
He became a teacher later in life. That wasn't his first career either. My grandmother and her sister were both librarians. I don't know. I think it was just, there was always so much importance put on the value of education that maybe it sunk in a lot deeper than it could have. And then going back to, sitting in that classroom at St. Mary's, a couple of years ago, I had someone ask me, like, would you want to be a student in your classroom? And so that's it was a very like aha moment and keeps me motivated to make sure that I'm doing what, that little fifth grader way back when would have wanted to do to make it interesting and welcoming and captivating for the students.
I mean, that's important though, especially right now because it's all virtual. And I know like if you're not captivating, you just completely lose their attention and they're like zoned out. So,
and their ability to just turn off their screen, like,
yeah.
that never happened to me before. It hurts my feelings a little bit, but
yeah, I was asking because I have some students. I'm like, wait, are you allowed to have your video off? So I asked the teacher. She's like, as long as they're engaged, like, I was like,
yeah,
okay. So that's a little hard there to not be able to see them and see their reactions.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
well, how did Randolph-Macon Women's College, now Randolph College, help you to get where you are today?
I think what a lot of people would say, it was a liberal arts foundation. It was taking the econ class when I didn't want to, but getting a lot out of it. It was my Dr. Shareko, one of my favorite professors. We exchanged Christmas cards. Whenever I'm on campus, I see him. My friends that I made there, I still say my parents were a little, they weren't sure about me going there. And I was like, no, this is where I'm going. And they will to this day say that exact same thing. We weren't sure, you proved us wrong. And so I think the opportunities that I had there, the ability to grow in confidence, to know that what I had to say could be important or that people would listen. I learned how to listen a lot better there, I think. So it's the combination of just where I was, what was offered to me, the classes, the people, the community feel, and then my friends that I still have now that, I was texting with this morning. So it's hands down one of the top 3 best decisions I've ever made was choosing to go to Randolph-Macon Women's College for sure. So I owe a lot of what I have today. I can't believe it. I never feel like I should be saying these things. These, like, I owe what I have to RandolphMacon and, you know, the people that were there and the friends and all that. But I think it's true. I think my life would be very different had I gone anywhere else. I wouldn't have had the same experience, the same exposure to people and things. And so it's why I am who I am today.
No, I think you really summarized it. I mean, it is just a unique experience, and it's so hard to sometimes put into words because you
Mm-hmm.
have to sometimes experience it to really understand it. I always tell people like that we had to write a thesis to graduate. And I was like, you don't really hear that often in undergrad. And then once I hit a master's program, I was like, oh, like so
Yeah.
simple. Like we've done this. Like we had to defend it. So they definitely have a higher standard and really prepare you for life, whether
Yeah.
you decide to
I,
pursue masters or not.
yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I did a master's program to get my master's in education. And I was like, oh, yeah, I can do this.
Yeah.
And after every exam, I wanted to be like, oh, I'm so glad it's over. But people understood what I meant, but they didn't really understand what I meant. And
Yeah.
so trying to explain about the unproctored exams, and I've just kind of stopped explaining because it's so hard for them to grasp that
Yeah.
anyone would allow 25 people in a room to take any exam and just expect nothing bad would
Yeah.
happen. So,
I mean, the honor code was very strong.
mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
how I know you're a teacher, so how have you adapted to teaching with COVID right now?
Um, so my gut reaction was there's no adapting because it is constantly changing. From March 11th of last spring, we were topsy-turvy craziness. And then we kept thinking, okay, yeah, this will get better. We'll start the school off in our regular way. And then once we realized as a team that wasn't going to happen, we were kind of like, oh my goodness, how are we going to do this? And how are we really going to teach? How are we really going to engage these kids? And so we started off virtually for about the first 6 weeks of school. And so I met my students on Zoom, and all the anxiety and all of the fear that first morning when I clicked on the meeting, as soon as I saw their faces, that was gone. And so that's been the glue, I think, is seeing them every day and them not noticing, I don't think, everything that's going on behind them. And so knowing that and knowing that they're just looking to me to be their regular teacher in any way, whether it's on Zoom or they're in front of me, it doesn't really matter. They're still looking for the same thing. They're still looking for a connection. They're still looking to trust me that what I'm teaching them is true. And
Yeah.
so with that, I might take a day, hour by hour. I can plan a week ahead. But that usually blows up in my face. So I try not to do that too much, or just know that, I can make these plans, but who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So I don't know that there's really any adapting to it other than what was happening in a classroom pre-COVID. Like, you just go with the flow. That's been my motto with my students. And I'm like, hey guys, we're about to go with the flow. And they're like, we got it, Mrs. Manari. We're cool. We're going to go with the flow. And they've embraced that as our motto, because you never know what technology is going to do. It can be our best friend or it can be my worst enemy. So it's going with the flow, adapting, pivoting. I don't know what other buzzwords are out there to describe it, but as my main concern is that the students don't feel the anxiety, or they don't feel the chaos that is going on behind the scenes for the most part. That's what I want to make sure doesn't happen. I want them to feel as much as they can like this is normal. When it's so.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it looks like you're trying to retain the school atmosphere as much as you can, given what you have. And that's good because I think they need to have some sense of that, you know.
Mhm. And I
So,
think for the most part they do, which I think this year, you asked this question a little bit later, but if you could tell anyone something about the school year, just being patient, and someone that's not in the school world, education
yeah.
world, being patient and realizing that this isn't normal. As much as I'm trying to make it normal for your child, it's not normal. And so we might focus more on the social and emotional aspect versus the 12 times tables for a while, because that's what the kids need, because their worlds have been turned upside down. So that's one of the things that I would want to stress to everyone is that um, it's hard, and we're working as hard as we can to give the kids what they need in that moment.
Yeah. Is there anything else you could add to that, or was that like the primary?
I think that was it. I made some notes.
Yeah.
Um, no, I think that's it. Just perspective is important too. Had I been teaching during COVID when I wasn't a parent, I think it would naturally just be harder to understand what's going on. My second grader right now um, loves that he's in the school building 2 days a week. The other 3 days of the week, he's just like, this is awful. And so I think having that perspective is key. That doesn't mean that teachers that don't have children can't have that perspective, but I'm grateful because I'm just grateful to have that perspective. And so we're trying. We're all really trying. I don't know a teacher that isn't trying. I don't know a teacher that isn't putting in more hours than ever before to make sure that the kids are learning and feeling loved. So I think that about covers it.
Awesome. Well, thank you for you and for what you're doing and everyone, all the other teachers out there as well. Um, let's see, you are a mom, a teacher, and you hold a position with the RMWC board or Randolph College board.
Mhm.
And so how do you balance everything?
This question made me pause. I don't think there is any balancing. I think it's juggling, because what is expected as a human. So let's go to all the layers, right? What's expected of me as a human? What's expected of me of a woman? What's expected of me of a teacher? What's expected of me of a mom, a wife, a friend? I don't think in this world right now we can balance. It's a juggling act. And again, that perspective from the people in your world. So my administrators, my co-teachers, my friends, my husband, all understanding that we're all in our own juggling act at the moment. And if we can see that, if we can step into someone else's shoes and understand that and really understand it, that, me not returning your phone call or your text isn't because I just don't want to. It's I thought of 17 other things I need to do right now that need to be done in the next 24 hours. Um, and so I think it's juggling at the moment. And the way I try to use humor a lot. I try to laugh. I try to break the tension with a terrible joke, or instead having a dance party at 2:30 with my kids on Zoom rather than the social studies lesson we were going to do, or
Mhm.
getting in the car and driving somewhere, anywhere, just to drive and just have a moment. Um, but I think laughter is the big thing. I get angry. I've cried more this school year than I've ever cried, um, because I know that I can't give the kids everything they need, including my own. Um, and so going outside, I don't say no as much to my own kids, because if my 4-year-old asks me to go snuggle on the couch and watch her favorite TV show, that's probably the best thing for me at that moment to help juggle and put into perspective, okay, that lesson plan can wait another 20 minutes. So I think as long as that answer was, I don't know that there's a concise answer, but I think it's all about juggling. My calendar on my phone is also my lifesaver. I put things in my phone. Like back in August, I put in my phone for like mid-October, take Lila, my daughter's Halloween clothes out of storage bins and put them in her dresser. Because what would happen is I'd get to December, I'd find her Halloween, like her pumpkin shirt or something like that. I'd find it in December, be like, oh, well, there goes that. Can't wear that again. She's going to grow. Or just like remember to take out the trash with, reminder 15 minutes before and on. So my phone calendar is my lifesaver because I put everything in it to help me balance what's going on.
That phone nothing happens to technology, right?
I know. That would be awful.
Well, and I don't think you're the only one. I think there's a lot of people who depend on their phones as their calendars and their emails and, just everything. But no, I mean, it's interesting that instead of saying balancing it, you're juggling it. But I like the fact how you turned it and said, like, we need to put yourself in other people's shoes, because even though it's a stressful moment right now, you're very much right in that, like where we do have to be considerate of each other and take a step back and know that we're all struggling and we're all juggling and we're all overwhelmed, and we just have to care about each other and just take that step back and see it.
Yep.
So, let's see. Me time is very important. Can you speak to why and what do you do for me time?
I think it is. If you can get it and go for it and relish in it. I think right now my me time it's being replaced by family time, or very late at night time when the house is quiet, no one's awake, the dog is even snoring, and I'm staying up later than I need to, but it's that time where no one is really expecting anything of me because they're all asleep. They can't ask me to do anything. Or no one's really texting that late at night or emailing that late at night because hopefully they're asleep as well. But it is really important. But I think right now, rather than the me time, I need to try to give that time to my immediate family and make sure that I am not so overwhelmed at work that I can't appreciate what's sitting right in front of me. So like my son will often ask me, we're reading books before bed, and Mom, do you have to go work or can you lay with me for a little bit? I'm just like, oh God, it just breaks my heart. And I'm like, you know what? Yes, I can stay for a couple minutes. And then he falls asleep immediately. And that right there is worth it. But him asking me, well, do you have a Zoom tonight, Mom? Or do you have work or can you stay here with me? That to me is more important than, a pedicure or, a walk around the block, which I would love to do both of those things, but I'm not at the moment because I think in the long run, I'd like my son to remember that his mom was spending time with him. That's the memory I want. And if that takes away from some of my me time, that's okay right now. And hopefully he'll remember that and say, Mom, that was so great when you did that for me.
If not, you should just re-record, like you should save this video and be like, do you know what I said about this?
Yeah, exactly.
No, exactly. I mean, I think while like everyone's looking at like, oh my goodness, how are we going to handle stuff? There is a silver lining, and that silver lining is like, you can spend more time with your kids, and with your family, you can do things collectively, like go for a walk together, go, just pause, because before it was like go, 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 and there wasn't that kind of time. And now it's like, okay, well, now you have the opportunity to actually pause.
Exactly.
Go ahead and do that pause and reflect and spend time with the people you care about. And if you do like those walks, go on a walk with your family. I mean, go for a bike
Yeah.
ride with your family. So
Yep.
that is important.
I agree.
Especially now, I think like kids, even though they're very resilient and they're doing a great job with, everything,
Mhm.
it's still hard for them not to be able to interact to the highest capacity of like, let's have recess time or let's do PE and, let's interact with our friends, let's eat together. I mean,
Mhm.
it's not the same. And
Yep.
so right now they need parents more than ever. So,
Yeah, I agree.
well, you are a natural leader. You were the president of the class of 2004. um, what are the qualities of a leader in your perspective?
Um, I think the most two important qualities are the ability to be flexible and to be able to listen. Um, uh, I mean, flexibility now more than ever is so important. And then understanding, that perspective I brought up a minute ago is important. I think those two um, are the most important, and I could think of a million different ways, different examples to describe those. But I think not being so hard and fast on, well, this is my way. I want to, and it's always worked, and not even thinking about trying something new. Or realizing, someone else is struggling and maybe it took all the courage or all of the energy they had to ask you for help. You have to change your plans, and that's okay. Being flexible. I think listening is really important. I think I've been in so many, not recently, but so many dinner parties or out to eat or group conversations where no one's actually listening to what the other person is saying. They're just waiting for a pause in the conversation so that they can say what they want to say. And it's funny, my brother and I are very similar in that way. And our respective spouses are much more loquacious than either of us. We'll sit back, we'll sit back and watch and listen. And, in our heads, we're having our own conversation. And we'll speak up every now and then, but um, they both are there. And I think it comes from they in that moment know what they want to say. Whereas my brother and I, it's going to take us a minute. Like I'm not the first person to raise my hand with a suggestion or a question or an idea because I want to sit and think about it for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
He's the same way. And somehow we both married people that they know right then and there, which, opposites attract, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
But we'll be sitting across the table from my brother Joaquin and I, and our spouses are, they're facing each other, and my brother and I are facing each other, and we're both just looking at each other like, we're never going to bed. They're never going to stop talking. So I love them both if they ever watch this. And neither of them would deny this fact at all. Like everybody's pretty honest with each other. But I think, excuse me, I think going back to the original question, being flexible and a good listener are two incredible skills that can take you really far in life.
Yeah. And when you say listening, I'm gonna take it to one step further and say like a lot of people say that they listen, but do you really listen? Because there's like surface listening and then there's like empathetic listening where you're really listening into like what is that person truly saying, and then like pulling out like the underlying
Mm-hmm.
thoughts and then putting it all together. Um, but
I
yeah,
tell,
definitely.
I tell my students sometimes, like, did you hear what I said? They're like, yeah, yeah. I said, okay, well, what did I say? And they're like, I don't know. I was like, so there's a difference. You might have heard my voice, right? But were you listening to what I was telling you? I said, there's a big difference. And now is the time to figure out how you're going to do that. So if you're
Yeah.
easily distracted, or if you need what face-to-face time with the teacher, or you need to write down information, to refer back to it later. Now's the time to figure that out. You're in fourth grade. Let's figure it out now so that later on you can be that good listener. You're not just there. You're not a body in a seat hearing what's going on, but not empathizing or not learning what you should be learning. So
yeah, that's important. I'm so happy to hear that you're, and teaching that to fourth graders, because they do have to start young. We don't want them to get to our age and just being like zombies. Like
yeah.
we need the younger generation to be kind and to learn those skill sets and learn how to respect one another.
Mm-hmm.
The hard question comes now. So, if someone was to write a book about you, what would it be titled and why?
So I sent this question to my family text chain, and I got a lot of responses. And some were funny, some were serious. But I think if someone, I don't know why anyone would write a book about me. But if they were, I think it would probably, the title might be, I don't have any of the answers, or I don't have any of the right answers, or I don't have the perfect answer, something along those lines, because so many, I mean, everything in my life, like, I don't know. I don't know that there's one specific thing that someone would write about, or my presidency at Randolph-Macon Women's College. I mean, no. But I think because I feel like sometimes when we write a book, yes, we are just telling a story, and sometimes it's just a good story. So maybe that would be it. But if I think the first thing I thought about was like not a self-help book, but like, I don't even really know. I'm rambling at this point, but just, I don't have all the answers, because every person is unique. Every person has their own path that they're going to follow. Everyone has their own fork in the road. Everyone has their own obstacles. And I've loved almost every moment of my life. And I would be happy to share it with anyone. And maybe they learn something from it, or learn what to do, or learn what not to do. But I wouldn't want them to read a book about me expecting that I am giving them the, top-notch advice, and that what I did was perfect. So I think that's why that came to my mind of, if you read Kathryn Manari's book, she doesn't have any of the answers. To just maybe bring it back to perspective of, sure, read this because it might be entertaining to you, but what I have to say isn't golden. What I have to say isn't going to make your life better in a matter of 12 easy steps or something like that. So that's where I landed on that.
No, I like it because, I mean, we're not the same people. If we were, life would be boring. We're all unique, and granted, we can learn from each other, but it's not going to be the end all be all, like you said. We learn from each other. We take what we can and then move forward and apply it in the way that best helps us. So,
yeah.
All right. What was one of your most memorable moments?
That was a very broad question, and I was like, okay, should I say the birth of my children? Should I say like the day I walked onto campus at Randolph-Macon? But actually, yesterday was my husband and I's 9-year wedding anniversary, and so that was top of mind, and it was memorable because we got married. Yes, obviously, but it was also memorable because there was a nor'easter that day, and it was the first time. So October 29th, it was the first time we got married in Philadelphia that it had snowed in October since the American Revolution.
Oh, wow.
And it did that on my wedding day. So pretty memorable.
Yeah.
Aside the fact from what was going to be happening that day, no matter what. And ever since then, I think the next year, so we got married in 2011, I think 2012, Hurricane Sandy was going on our anniversary. The next year, my husband and I both forgot our anniversary. Life was crazy at school. We had my son was under a year old. And then there was some other natural occurrence that happened on our anniversary. And then this year there's COVID. So he was like, what do you want to do? And I was like, go to bed early? I don't know. I don't like, we're not going to go out on the town, right? I'm not going to hire a babysitter. Like, so it was just like, all right, so what's this trend? You know, what's going to be happening next year? Who knows?
Let's not make it another. Yeah, let's make it like a blizzard or again or something.
Yeah, I'll take snow anytime.
Yeah.
But I think because yesterday was our anniversary, that was top of mind for me. But I will say, to give a little plug to RandolphMacon, my mom and I drove to Agnes Scott College, which is right outside of Atlanta, and Hollins and Sweetbriar and Randolph-Macon all on the same trip.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, we went during the summer. We stayed on campus at Sweetbriar. When we got to Randolph-Macon, Emily Farner was my admissions rep, and actually we were just texting yesterday. And I did know as soon as I walked onto campus that this is where I wanted to go. Like it was, I've never had that feeling really about anything else, but I had that feeling of, okay, this is it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we can go see Hollins. We probably should, but like, this is where I'm supposed to be. And so that is a very distinct memory that I have. And my dad wasn't on that trip. And that's part of the reason why he was like, are you sure? Where is Lynchburg, Virginia? What is this red brick wall? Are they going to give you any money? So if I'm being completely honest. So that's another memorable moment for sure.
Yeah. No, I think if you speak to a lot of people who loved the college and who were really active with the college, a lot of them would say that, like, upon visiting or upon like talking to an admissions counselor, it was like, yes, this is our place. There was no looking at anything else. It was like, bam, that's it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Who inspires you or inspired you?
So I started making a list, and it's not really long. I mean, my grandmother and grandfather, who were sharecroppers in Texas, who, you know, my grandfather paying a poll tax so that he could vote. My grandmother learning to speak English, you know, while, you know, getting married I think she got married at 13. Wow. She's one of my favorite people that I've ever had the privilege to know. And there's a picture of her on my refrigerator, right at eye level, so that every time I open it, I see her. And so she's one of my, I'm so thankful that I got to know her. Ann Richards, she was one of the governors of Texas. And she's actually the woman who said, I don't know if you've heard this quote before, you know, something, I forget the whole quote, but, you know, if women can do anything men can do, just remember Ginger Rogers. She did everything Fred Astaire did, just backwards and at heels. She's the woman that said that. And my mom took me to one of her rallies when we lived in Waco, Texas, and I got to meet her as a second grader. And I still I know exactly where we were. I remember that moment. And because she was kind of if you have a chance, look up Ann Richards. She was a fascinating woman who became governor of Texas at a time where that, like, it's an anomaly almost that happened. Michelle Obama, Barack Obama, like, my list goes on and on and on. And then I was like, honestly, I can find inspiration from almost anyone in my life, whether it's a fictional book character or someone on TV or someone in my world. There's going to be something inside of them that is going to inspire me, because I realized my list was a lot of celebrities aside from my grandmother and grandfather. And when I really got to it, I was like, well, I should put my mom on this list because she inspires me. I was like, well, but my dad does too. I can't leave him off. My husband, my friend, Liza Kate, who you know from Randolph-Macon, inspires me with what she's doing with her work. There's so many people that I couldn't clearly I couldn't
You couldn't find
it down to just even one, really.
No,
I have
that's
to put them
true.
into categories. So my celebrity inspiration, my family inspiration, my fictional book character inspiration. I couldn't pick just one.
No, but that's good though. Like I mean, you find good in everybody and you find strength in everybody, and that's a good thing to see in people. So, well, Kathryn, it was great catching up again, and I'm glad we were able to make this work.
Me
And
too.
thank you again. So stay in touch, and if you guys have any questions for Kathryn, please leave it on the message board, and one of us will answer. Otherwise, keep up the great work with the schoolwork that you're doing and with the kids and inspiring them to be better individuals and better young people. And I look forward to seeing great things from you.
Thanks, Tarek. I really appreciate it. This was really nice.
No problem. You have a great weekend.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.
Bye.